Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
It's a privilege to meet you this wonderful evening. Please, can you please introduce yourself a little?
Thank you for having me. Mr Babalola, a CEO of a digital and network marketing company, and also I'm into health. I'm a health consultant for many state companies and some other prestataires, including private settings.
Okay, according to that, in your organization, there are a lot of youths around you. So, what would you say is your aim at gathering youths, encouraging the youths in the society?
I think the motivation, aside that it's my generation now, I'm a youth, and then I have a zeal and a passion for youths. Anything that would drive the youth into going into action, being the best, discover themselves, discover their potentials, because I know what it means while growing up, and I know what I've been able to do. Leadership is a major demand and major requirement that we need. So our youths are the leader of the future. So I think that's the motivation.
When it comes to the youths, we see the positive and the negatives. On the negative aspect, we see a rise in the number of people, youths especially, going into drug abuse, becoming addicted to drugs. So what is your take on the current rate of drug abuse among the youths?
For me, it's quite alarming and it's quite disturbing. My fear started in June 29, 2022. That was last year, when I saw in Vanguard, a very reputable, Nigerian newspaper. I saw it there that about 29.4 million Nigerians are abusing drugs. Now it stopped me because it's my generation, and when they says within the age of 15 to 64, I mean that is the active time. That's the time everybody is active. That is the secondary school, tertiary institution age grade of the workforce of this country. Then we now find out that majority of them are preoccupied with drug abuse and things that would affect their socio-economic prowess. So there's no hope for the future if care is not taken.
As a medical practitioner, what are some of the effects drug abuse can have on an individual and a social life?
If we want to talk about personal, individual effects it can have, we have a lot of health issues, health-related issues it can cause. It can cause, cardiovascular problem, cerebrovascular problem. A lot of people come up with a lot of internal problems, lung issue, all these excessive consumption of drugs. You see, drug itself is not the issue, because a substance that you use that affects your body function and emotional functioning is actually what they call drugs. But the category of drugs, you have over-the-counter drugs, and you have prescription drugs, you understand? You have illicit drugs, and that's where the problem comes up. Drugs, people go into excessive consumption of drugs, illegal intake of drugs, excessive consumption of drugs, because of some other benefit, probably of the temporary time that they want to see. Now, when we come to the effect it can have in the family, you don't want to relate with people that have this menace or this issue. When it comes to finances, you don't entrust them. I remember one of the leaders I read, the name is Zig Ziglar. I read his book. Zig Ziglar was selling, very big book like that. He said, I want to do business with many people, but not people on drugs. Because they can change their mind anytime. You don't want to bank your life on people that can change their mind. They are not stable. In fact, he went ahead to talk about the effect of drugs. I said it has affected his family. In fact, he specified on tobacco. He said tobacco, smokers are liable to die. That's when he analyzed in that book. He said for every cigarette you hold, you agree that you're going to reduce your lifespan by 14 seconds. Every drug, every cigarette, just cigarette one. I'm talking about cigarette now. People talking about the hard drugs like marijuana or cocaine. But every cigarette, say you agree that you're going to reduce your lifespan by 14 seconds. Now, I did some little mathematics. 14 seconds. That means if I take 10, that's 140 seconds. 140 divided by 60. That's almost 2.5 minutes that I've reduced. A lot of people they consume a pack in a day. Now, so if I consume 10 packs a day, that means it's 25 minutes of my life that you use per day. Now, so if I check that one, 25 minutes of my life, that's almost going to be, 25 minutes, it's going to be an average of like, in 2 months, I would have consumed about 1 day or more than 1 day of my life that has been reduced for my 2 months. So every 2 months, just from cigarettes. And cigarettes is still a mild one. You understand? So now consider some other bigger ones that people are going into that is not even going to be. So it's actually a killer. drugs are not, if not for anything, the environment is a problem. So one, the personal problem about the health issue, you know, a lot of psychotropic problem that is bringing even narcotic effect that it has in our body, our personal life, environment, and in the society, a lot of problems, you know. That's what leads to a lot of crimes that has increased now. You have a lot of people going to kidnapping. Ordinarily, they cannot do it. But many of them, you know, they deploy those means as something that make them go high, and they can go extra mile, going to do what they never would do ordinarily.
What would you say is your fear for the future, considering the effects drug abuse would have? Do you see it reducing, or do you see it, if it continues this way, what is your fear about the future?
For me, it's something very serious, because a lot of factors that have caused this are shown over time. There's consistency in the rate. Imagine if as at last year we are talking about 29.4 million people, 29.4 million, and that's barely about 70% of the youth population. Where's our strength? So where is the future? And the strength of every nation depends on youth. Youth are the building block of every nation. There is no nation that is not driven by youth. Because if you check the age range, according to NDLA now, was NDLA, you know, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, according to them, they were the one that drove that. So if NDLA is telling you which are the, you know, authorized body that is served with the responsibility of seeing to the need for drug enforcement, production of kind of arms, so it's already showing us that there's no hope going to the future. Because if right now we have something like that, if measure is not taken, so we don't see it coming up. As last year was like that. Check out how many people are into it now. And a lot of environment, people are beginning to see peer pressure, a lot of things are affecting people.
The World Health Organization also came out to say over 30-something million currently. Yes. So that goes on to really show that yes, there is need for alarm.
Yes.
There's a reason for alarm on the future. Okay.
Absolutely.
So what would you say are the major causes of drug abuse?
A lot of things are responsible for it.
Okay.
Number one, I would say genetic factor. Though it's not really, you probably have to be medically oriented to understand that genetic and biological factor, because some people are actually predisposed to genetic factor, you know, coming from the hereditary. But that is not an excuse for anybody taking it to say, okay, maybe my own is hereditary, but you can actually trace that part. Some people are predisposed to it.
So that is if the father and the mother are into drugs,
there is a likelihood of it coming up, and people are predisposed to it also. It also happens. And again, another one, which is the major one, is the environmental factor. You have some race, some tribes, they have the availability of this drug, as it's common to them, you know, and it's very cheap for you to get. And it's another issue. Again, the peer pressure. The peer pressure, a lot of people naturally will not go into it. But by the time they are convinced by their friends about the probably benefits that they can have in the temporary time, so the people even go into it. Also, peer pressure is another factor. I think number 4, another factor is, you know, emotional relief. A lot of people resort into taking it for emotional relief, and then for the meantime, just go ahead and take it because they have some maybe social abuse, they need to escape. And I always tell people that is just a temporary relief. What about the permanent relief you want? So you are temporarily relieved, but you are not permanently relieved from the effect, the scar you will sustain through that. So, but in the long term, because at the end of the day, after the temporary relief, you are still faced with.
You try to escape from.
You understand? Even at that time, you may sustain some scar you will never forget in a hurry. That is another issue. These are the causes that I think people go into it for different reasons. But many a time, even people you don't expect, they tell you just because you know how to, because of that emotional trauma I'm going through, I have to quickly take that, and at the end of the day, the cost still remains. And so at the end of the day, it all doesn't worth the reason why they take it, because it leads them for more trauma than the way they started.
You have actually mentioned the environment, and so would you like to expatiate on how the society has contributed? Would you say the society has contributed immensely to the increase in the number of youths taking drugs these days?
There is no way we would describe the effect and the menace that's caused without relating to the society. But don't forget, every individual comes from a family. The family is the child of the society. So if we see it as something wrong to personality, if we are properly educated, we know the effects. I know what it can cause to me. Definitely I cannot. So everybody come from a society, but we cannot detach that from the society, what we get from the society. Because environment release, I just mentioned, some of them are very free, you understand, to get,
yes,
and some of them have effect on the peer pressure is still part of the society. So if effect of the societal effect is really very strong in many individuals, because that's what we are raised to see, that's what we are born to see. It is very, very difficult to separate yourself from the society. You need another education, exposure, or another mentorship, another breed of people to forget your past. Environment and society is part of those things that can contribute, and we can pick it up from there. But once I know what I need to do as an individual, and I raise my family with the same mindset,
yeah.
And we are the one going to the family.
Yes.
One person can lighten up. Let me give you an instance. One day like that, I wanted to branch at my organizer, and then I wanted to do something, and he was sleeping. And as he was sleeping, I came out of the vehicle. They were trying to help me wake him up, and I saw beside him, very close to his head, a pack of cigarettes, and written boldly there. Before they will say the Federal Ministry of Health warns that tobacco smokers are likely to die. They are likely to die young. But now I saw, that was the first time. It was very shocking. I saw the picture of the liver.
Yes.
Written gold. I've not seen that in recent days.
Yes.
I've not seen that.
That's how they do it now.
I've not seen that. I just saw it. It was shocking. I said, God, you mean these people have gone ahead from lecturing because they understand. Even the environment, some people don't read and write.
Yes.
Now it is in a pictorial form now.
Yes, so that you understand it. You know what you are going into.
Excuse. Yes. And I saw the way they position. You see a big liver, a good liver, healthy liver. You see the one that has been, the damaged due to those effects. Yes. So I saw them, and I'm like, see this shrinking one. Naturally, we don't want to choose this.
Yes.
He now started cancelling me. Imagine. My organizer started cancelling me. He was like, it's good though. This thing is good though. Forget it. So the person that went with me said, you want to start cancelling doctor because he didn't know what I do.
Yeah.
This doctor want to start it was so funny. But that day, thank God, after the man introduced me that I'm a health practitioner, he now listened to me. I was able to cancel it. All of us have that responsibility to understand what is right. You might not be able to capture the whole word, but you can start with your own little effort. Let people understand the effect of it. Many can see it, but they still go ahead and say how they say it kills, but I still want to buy it there. In fact, the man, like the one I was saying, he was cancelling me about the effect that you have to take this kind of a thing. After I cancelled him, now came down. Today, he has agreed that there is a need for him to drop it. You understand? So it's just good when people are aware of the effects of what is occurs.
So, would you say some people do take drugs or go into drug abuse due to ignorance or naivety?
Okay, obviously, the two. Okay. Some are actually ignorant. That's why we need a lot of awareness and education. And I must commend a Giftathon for this powerful thing, because if a lot of people are coming up with this kind of mindset, I'm sure that one day the voice will be heard in the higher places we want it to be. Okay, in our only two connect, we are doing that. A lot of people are ignorant of what they will do. I can't know what will kill me, and I will still go ahead and buy it.
Exactly.
So, but a lot of people are not aware. But in our only two connect, if you are doing that awareness, people will be aware. So some people are actually naive about it also, and the influence of probably the person sending them. You understand?
Okay.
Sometimes things are circumstances, because I've seen somebody that will say, you are falling sick every time. Me, when did you see me? Me, I'm smoking. I don't fall sick, but you that means your liver is not strong. They're giving me low. I mean, you'll be like, okay, is that the reason why you're thinking? Where did you get this? So if you live more in that kind of environment, you will learn how to smoke it, because you would have lived to believe that the healthy living of that influencer comes based on
smoking. Yes.
So,
talking about peer pressure. So what are the things you think an individual can do to avoid, succumbing to peer pressure?
Very simple. Know what you want in life. But that's a doing armed robbery, because something you're going to do.
No.
You know the effect is going to leave for you. You understand it. So once you understand what you do and you understand your purpose, you won't succumb. Proper education is very important. Knowing what you want is very important. Being educated by the aftermath of what they are taking is very important. What you want will permit the association. You understand? My association is only permitted by what I want.
Yes.
You cannot, if I cannot influence you, you cannot influence me.
Yes.
I'm carrying something for my word. I understand what I need.
Yes.
And I know this thing can construct my life. I know the effect it can have in my life. I know I'm a gift to my word. And it's not going to come to pass if I succumb to this. So it's very easy for me to say, no, I won't succumb to this.